Good evening, this is Ronald Allen, managing change through effective communications. Tonight's discussion, color or color. Why on earth would I use those two words? Well, from England, we spell the texture and coloration of the rainbow C-O-L-O-U-R. And here, of course, in America, we spell it C-O-L-O-R. Well, what has that got to do with anything? And certainly, what has that got to do with the picture behind me? Well, you know that yesterday, United States and many of its bordering partners celebrated Veterans Day, a very significant day. And where we live, in Pemberton, New Jersey, we have McGuire and Fort Dix joint-based operations. It's one of the few military bases that survived multiple legislative cuts, Department of Defense cuts, and has literally grown, I think, primarily because of its strategic position, its contracts with companies like Lockheed, and some favorable, shall we say, legislative partnerships. What I would like to share with you tonight is perhaps instead of looking at the differences and the fact that we won or we lost wars, and they're all wars, give it a name, they're all wars, it is the citizenry that we should be focused on. The communication should be what happens with the average person in any country at any time where war is waged for the acquisition of land, therefore raw material, therefore the cultural privilege of writing history. And to my experience, certainly coming from England, I was not educated in the American experience, the American broadening of borders and acquisition. And now living in Pemberton, New Jersey, small, I'd say moderate income neighborhood, because in some cases you'll find tented veterans who cannot assimilate back into society, camping out in the back there in Route 70, and you'll find $3-4 million homes situated nicely on the lakes that are abundant here. Lake Misery, Presidential Lakes, Country Lakes. So the mix, the hodgepodge, is extremely drastic and radical, because you will see homeless veterans and citizens alike walking the streets, as much as you'll see $100,000 cars pulling out of driveways. So what has that got to do with the military, the Veterans Day that we have acknowledged? I'm not going to say celebrated, I will say acknowledged, and we should. For me, it was a significant eye-opener when I found out that such people as the Tuskegee Airmen fought off German Messerschmitts, these are fighter planes in the Second World War, where they did not have a single, understand the significance of that, a single bomber being downed when they went to unload in Germany and German-occupied parts of Europe in the Second World War. Now, some of you might just say, well, wasn't that a long time ago? No, it wasn't. And the significance of it should never, as Veterans Day purports, be lost. More importantly, and this is really why I use the term color, C-O-L-O-U-R, and color, C-O-L-O-R, I think we should recognize that the citizens of any country that are in a war zone are the ones that lose. And what has struck me, and why I do this discussion tonight, is because the citizens right here in Browns Mills represent the entire planet. I'll give you an example. We have a lady who is married an American serviceman from the Second World War. They live just down the road, and she cultivates her garden, just as I believe the lady is from Cambodia, and she cultivates orchids, of which we, my wife and I, cannot seem to keep them alive. Yet she makes them blossom outside literally year round. There are other people from the Philippines, from Latin American countries, from, in fact, Germany itself, who have forged relationships with service people and or auxiliary service, but non-commissioned, I believe that's the correct term, non-commissioned service people, and forged a life after these radical, traumatic wars. Now, you know, a segue, but an appropriate one, there are artists who write about these and try to present a social awareness that these things are not to the best interest of the majority of us, whether you're the so-called enemy or those who are partisan. And as you know, the group war, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. You know, those are the lyrics. Just as Black Sabbath, right? Generals gather in their masses, just like witches at black masses. These are songs that were created and were an expression of the times. Yet, 30, 40, 50, go back in time, we still seem to feel that's the only way to get our point across and occupy and control. And of course, the wording is protect our borders. So I'll ask you tonight, on a very serious note, and in remembrance of those who have given their all, their ultimate, is that the only way that we're going to go forward and continue? Now, I brought this montage of both service people, entrepreneurs, and academics, because I wanted to share with you that what if we could create a montage of people across all nationalities? What if we could communicate a message that says everybody contributes to the elevation of mankind, and where we can put all our money, where everybody rises, is in the development of our minds, of how we think about life, how we approach every morning, how we generate resources and solutions to everyday problems. What if? Now, some of you might say I'm naive. Well, I've lived a bit and I've seen quite a bit. And I'm intelligent enough to know that it is better to be in the zone of creation and development and exploration than wandering in some mental state of confusion, we use the term pain and suffering. What if? Isn't that what the Beatles wrote in the 60s? Isn't that what galvanized whole countries together? Isn't that what we do when we go to our separate buildings of worship? We hope. We pray to something we don't really understand and we have never seen. And all respect to those who believe in reincarnation, no one's come back and told us absolutely definitively. So I think there is a strength in that. I think there is a possibility in that. I think there is an effective form of communication that we use because we desire it. Our intent is to make it so. And I just wanted to share with you because we actually went down and interviewed Carl Brazier, I should say that actually Carl Brazier was the father. I interviewed his son, he had 3 sons, and he also flies and is a serviceman. He has a young son, married. His wife is also a servicewoman. And I wanted to give my respect. Because if I didn't come to America, I wouldn't have known about Tuskegee Airmen saving both Europeans and others from all over the world, and therefore our ancestry is indebted to them. Carl Brazier was the first African-American Master Chief deep water salvage serviceman. For these people, and every one of you should look into your own nationality, even if it is go back 4, 5, 6 generations, because without that legacy, don't we look at Ancestry.com with commercial eyes? If we don't look at that legacy, our own, then we are disconnected. Then we are subject to, excuse the vulgarity, Walmart and Amazon. It's vulgar, I know, yet it is and will remain an impact on our lives if we don't wish to arrest and challenge what someone else is telling us is a reality. Because history is written by those who win, and those that come after think that that is the way things are and should be going forward. And in managing change through strategic and effective communications, we want to constantly test, validate. We want to constantly look back and say, well, wait a minute. If there is a war, if there is an altercation, who is really benefiting? Now, is this the only path, whatever the main initiative is this the only path? Is this the only way? As a creature, shouldn't we be looking for the evolution of our manners and our behavior and our ability to embrace others? So I'll leave you with this. Do some homework. Go back in your own legacy, your own history, your own ancestry. Find out what your people had to do to get you where you are today. And then decide, is that all that there is? Is that all that I want to do? Is that all that I can do? Or can you partner with people that you are uncomfortable with, unfamiliar with, unknowing about, and push the barometer of possibility a little bit further? So I'll salute my servicemen and women. I will salute the decision makers that make the incredibly impossible decisions. And then I will ask them, is there another way? And there are. There are some incredible articles, great research, whether it's coming out of the German industrial mindset